Hello and welcome back, and welcome to tutorial 128, in which we are calculating the RSI using a price series provider, as you can see on the workspace at the moment. And this is video 3 of 4, and you might wish to have a look at 1 and 2 before moving on to this video. Okay, let's move on, and in this video we're going to be calculating the guts of the calculation. So let's have a look at the RSI function, and what you'll notice is we have part of the program where current bar is equal to 1, and we've done the equivalent of that. Then on the rest of the bar we calculate the difference, and then we feed that into two calculations, one for NET CHG AV and total change AV, applying the smoothing factor and applying this value change. So let's have a look on the spreadsheet what that looks like. So we've done the initial calculation. We've moved past current bar, we're at bar 2. Essentially what we're doing is finding the change between this bar and the previous bar, and then feeding that into the calculation. We now need to do the equivalent calculation from the PSP. So what we somehow need to do is go back and find the difference between these two bars, then the difference between 13 and 12, then 11 and 12. And what we do is we do that calculation each time, and just really calculate the whole chart from scratch each bar, which is probably the most easy to understand, but perhaps a little processor intensive. But what I've done for the real-time bars is calculated a perhaps more efficient way of doing that. So let's have a look. What we're going to do is going to copy this syntax just as by way of a template for what we're going to modify. What I've already done is added some additional variables to the program. You can see up there, for example, change ratio, PSP RSI, where we're going to put the value of the RSI and so on. So we have the main guts of the program here, and we're going to put that into a for loop, which will look something like for counter equals PSP dot count minus length minus 1 down to 1. But before we do that, we need to you'll notice we've got a new variable which I've called net change average LB, which means for last bar, because unlike the function running on a normal chart, the RSI function, we can't use this net average L1. We have to use this new variable that I've created. So I'm going to modify that here, like so. What we also need to do is we need the begin and the end. We need to set, having done the initialized calculation, we need to set these two, or rather, these two, net change average LB and the equivalent for total. I'm just going to copy these. They have got to be made to be equal to values that we just calculated in the initialization routine above, which would be this value here and this value here. Okay, now we also can't use price and price minus 1. That's meaningless. So in our context, we're going to say PSP.close, then square brackets, and we need to find the equivalent. So if we're using this counter, we're going to be using the counter, and we need to use a counter minus 1, minus PSP dot close, then counter, like so. And let's just check that that's giving us what we need. So in the example that we've got on my spreadsheet, we've got a count of 20, minus 5, 15, minus 1, 14 down to 1. And we're going counter minus 1. So let's have a look. So it's 14 down to 1. The counter starts at 14, so we go minus 1, which is this bar here, minus this bar here. So you can see it's the current bar taking away the value in the last bar, and then that will continue as we go through the loop. Now the other thing that we mustn't forget to do is each time we do a calculation, because we're going to then be looping into the next calculation, we need to set the net bar LB equal to the result that we just calculated, which is this value here, and we need to do the same for the total, like so. And then as far as the calculations, I think they remain basically the same, like so, except we're calling this PSP underscore RSI, and we are also going to plot it. So we're going to plot we're going to plot this value like so. Okay, let's verify that, see if we've made any syntax errors. Okay, what have we got here? Okay, it doesn't like that because that's supposed to be a square bracket, and they look okay. Okay, that's good. Now, as I say, I've already got this applied to the chart, so let's have a look and see if that tallies up, and if it does, you should see the same values. In fact, let me just make sure it's switched on. So format, analysis techniques. Looking at the wrong chart. It's this one. Yeah, applied to the chart, and if you can see those values at the bottom, you'll see the PSP RSI and plot 1 are indeed showing the same values. Okay, so that's all well and good, and that works. The only problem with this is that it's doing an awful lot of processing, and on real-time bars, if the program is running tick by tick by tick, it's going to be doing that whole calculation for the whole chart every tick, which is quite a lot. So what I'm going to do in the final video is just show you a possible way that you could make it a little bit more efficient. So thank you for your attention.